AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. It's the Matt McNeil Show for your Thursday, 952-946-6205. Once again, a reminder, and I'm going to say this a lot, vote, 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 vote. I voted today. There you go. I got my little sticker on there. Ron Latz, Cheryl Yukim. I brought up at the beginning of the 3 o'clock hour. It does annoy me that there didn't even have a challengers. Republicans didn't even run a challenger against either one of them. I mean, come on. I hear people say the two-party system is bad. I guarantee you it's better than the one-party system. So come on, make sure we actually have choices on these elections. I get upset when both parties, when they don't run candidates in races, give people a choice. That's the important thing out there. This is my first time. Dean Phillips, I voted for you. That's right. Not a question. I've moved from House District 5, Minnesota 5 to Minnesota 3 with the redistricting. So I voted for Dean Phillips. Easy peasy. Not a question. Done. And I'm pretty sure Dean's going to carry Hopkins pretty well there. Governor Walz, Steve Simon, Julie Blaha, Keith Ellison, done. And, that's what voting is important. Straight DFL ticket is an important vote. We need to keep the leaders that we have here, and we need the House and the Senate to the Senate to become the DFL, the House to stay with the DFL. And on the House side of things, let's head back up north to 2A. Reed Olson is back with us. He joined us earlier this year. He's kind enough to rejoin us to talk about how his campaign is going as we are looking to carry that seat for the DFL in the next House session. Reed, thank you very much. I appreciate the time.
Hey, Matt. Thanks for having me back on. Pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have you back. And I know you're out door knocking right now, so you're taking a little bit of a break.
I took a little bit of break. I'm door knocking in my neighborhood downtown, kind of downtown Bemidji, where it is about 40 degrees and misting out. So it's just a beautiful day in scenic Bemidji here.
We just talked to Alan Roy a little bit ago. Of course, he was running for the Senate seat up there. Yeah. 2A basically is the northern half of that district, which includes Bemidji, the Red Lake Reservation, as well as also going up Baudette and Lake of the Woods, correct?
Yep, and the northern half of the northern half of Clearwater County, so Clearbrook and Gonvick and a couple of townships of Clearwater County. So, yeah, basically Bemidji and then straight north up to the northwest angle. How
has it been going for you? How's the door knocking been going?
It's been going really well, I think. We've been hitting a lot of people. We're basically just about hitting every door, and we have a lot of doors we don't have any data on, and they're coming back really positive. Today, I was out a little bit early. Most people are at work, so I didn't hit too many people, but the people that I did hit, pretty sure they're going to vote for me. And I just want to mention one thing. I don't know if you see this in the metro so much, but there's this one house about 3 blocks away from mine, and they had Stauber signs, Grossel, my opponent. Stauber is the incumbent Republican member of Congress that Jen Schultz is going to unseat in a couple of days here.
Yes.
And then all of the slate of the Republican constitutional offices. And I was driving by, and I was like, man, I know that house is empty right now, that nobody's living there, and there's all these signs. And so now today I finally knocked the door, and I said, are you supporting these guys? And the person that lived there said, no, the signs are there when I got there. And so this happens a lot in Bemidji. Bemidji recently became a majority renter community, so 51% of residents in Bemidji rent, 49% own their homes. And what landlords do, there's a few really powerful landlords that own the bulk of the real estate. And so they put their signs up. It's astroturfing, right, where they're making it look like people are supporting these candidates, but they have no support in Bemidji. And so you drive by vacant lots or vacant apartments, and you see all these signs for the Republicans, and nobody's living there, or the people are afraid to say anything to the landlord about it because they don't want to lose their home, So that's what's kind of stuck in my craw this afternoon as I'm door knocking. So not all yard signs are created equal. My yard signs are in front of people's homes because we knocked their doors and asked them, and they said that they wanted our sign. The Republicans just put them wherever they have power, not where there are individuals that actually support them. So
is that against?
I feel better.
Is that against the law? I mean, if I'm renting the property, I'm the resident of the property. So for the landlord to come in here and force their political view as mine, is that legal for them to do?
I don't think so, because you're leasing that land. You're leasing that home and the front yard. And I said to the tenant, I said, you should tell your landlord that if they want to keep these up, that you should get about 10% off of your rent because now you're not able to use your property. You're leasing the property, so you have full control over it. But when you live in a community where there's not enough housing and you have landlords that don't, we have a lot of residents that don't understand their rights, and we have landlords that are willing to abuse those rights. And people say, hey, it's not perfect, but at least I got a roof over my kid's head. I'm not going to rock the boat. So sure, technically it may be illegal. It's surely unethical. But yeah, I think it violates your First Amendment right of political expression because they're basically putting words in your mouth, Wow. So, but nobody's gonna challenge them because they need you're a single mother with a pile of kids. It's hard to find an apartment, and you definitely want to stay on the good side of your landlord.
Reed, I know someone who could challenge them. It's me. I might go find out what the law is on this, and I might call around to some of these landlords up there and say, okay, is it you do know it's illegal to force your political signs on any of your renters, right? And
and they'll say, yeah, what are you going to do?
Well, I'll say, we'll get some pictures of it. We'll find out what we can do. We'll find out what the charges would be, what the penalty would be on something like that. We'll find out, and I'll let you know what I discover. Okay.
Wonderful. I appreciate that.
No problem.
Good deal.
Well, because that's it. It's all about that. You just nailed it. It's about trying to make it seem like this fringe Republican mentality is mainstream, and it's not. Right. And they do this stuff. I don't hear what happens down in the cities is you'll get roving gangs that will come through and take out every Democratic sign in a 4-block radius. They'll just take out every sign, and that's what they kind of do down here. That I don't think that they could do that down here, and I guarantee you. I mean, and I guess as you said, there you have. You got to be careful because you don't have a lot of options for renting. But down here, where you do, I can just see, hey, let me show you where you can put your signs. I think that would be a little bit of the mentality down here. I'll follow up on that, okay?
Okay, good deal, good. Because that's just one small symptom of the problem and that's why one of the main things that I'm running on is trying to get more housing built here in the Bemidji area. And, we need more housing and higher wages so that people can afford to own their own homes. It's not helping that the Fed is cranking interest rates right now and really getting home ownership out of reach of more and more people. But we need more housing. We need more power in the people. I mean, if we had a healthy rental market, landlords wouldn't be able to get away with it as easily. Tenants would feel more free to express their rights, and challenge their landlords. But so you got to get more housing, and I think that we need to look at a rental code that really, or maybe a statewide, look at really making sure that renters are being treated appropriately and that they're not having their rights violated. And so it's the canary in the coal mine, when they go after, when they nitpick on little things, take your rights away. It's going to get worse and worse. And they're going to encroach on more and more of your rights. So we need more housing.
All right. And I think that this is such an important issue because it is not one that gets discussed at all. But you're absolutely right, and it's not just Bemidji, which is a larger metro area there. And as I was talking with Alan Roy earlier, it's that Bemidji is. If you haven't been up there, you don't understand that Bemidji really is its own area. It's not near Grand Forks. It's not really near Moorhead. It's not near Duluth. It is its own economic driving area, and so. Not only do you have the problems in Bemidji, but then you get up into these other parts of your district, especially north of there, and it's incredibly difficult to find decent rental properties in many of these towns. Yes,
yeah, and that's I've been up to Baudette and to the great little town of Williams up in Lake of the Woods, and knocking doors, talking to people. I hear the same thing. What are your main needs for your community? And it's housing and daycare. And then up, the further north you go, the more people really want to see reinvestments in healthcare of all sorts, because the hospitals are, if you live in Baudette, you have to have, and you're pregnant, you got to come down to Bemidji, or you got to go to East Grand Forks or Moorhead, to deliver your baby. Elder care is getting more and more difficult in those rural areas, and we know that it's so much cheaper and a much higher quality of life if we can keep people in their homes. But they're having a hard time finding the PCAs that come in a couple of times a week to help people maintain their household. And so then if we don't have those employees to do that great work, then people are forced to leave the community to go to daycare, elder care facilities outside of where they lived the first 85 years of their life, you know. So we have to really, what I want to see is some real major investments in rural Minnesota. I think for those of us that are old enough to remember, and it's a shame that there may be people too young to remember, but we used to have a thing called the Minnesota Miracle.
Yeah.
And, it started in the late 60s, early 70s, and it really set up Minnesota. That's why Minnesota has the great infrastructure that we do, the most productive workforce in the nation, the best infrastructure in the nation. But under Pawlenty, we really started chipping away at the Minnesota Miracle. You may remember the unallotment where he slashed aid that goes to local governments. He said that affordable college is not a right for Minnesotans. Which is rich coming from someone who got his undergrad and his law degree from the University of Minnesota in the 70s when it was basically free.
Yep.
And then when he comes of age, he's no, but not for you. It's good enough for me, but not for thee. And so we're going to take it away. And now kids are paying, or students are paying twice as much as I paid to go to school, coming out with huge debt, and we need to fix that. And we know what happens when we invest in Minnesotans. Good things happen. There's a reason that we have more Fortune 500 companies per capita than any other state. If high taxes on corporations was a prohibitive factor, all those corporations would be down in Mississippi, but they're not. And a few have tried. I remember, was it in the 80s, Tonka Toys relocated one of their production facilities to Texas, and after just a few months, they stopped and came back here because though the wages were lower, the productivity wasn't near as high. And so it was actually cheaper for them to do business in Minnesota with higher wages and higher taxes because their productivity was so much greater.
Well, and then you get to the quality of life issue. And trust me, you get out of Minnesota and you all of a sudden you drive around Minnesota and it's like, oh, nice little parks, nice roads. The water is relatively clean. We need to make sure it stays clean. That's for sure. And then you get someplace like Texas. You're like, oh, my God.
Right, yeah. Drive through western North Dakota and you can experience your tax savings, There's just zero investment in local infrastructure, and we do a really good job. We've been slipping over the last couple of decades, but we know the recipe. We know what we need to do to get back to where we were 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and it doesn't take much. It's just a matter of really investing in our priorities, which are us. Investing in our people.
Reed, if I can ask you, one of the things I think you and I mentioned before, I've always loved the idea of in the Twin Cities we have metro mobility and allows people, elderly people, handicapped people, to be able to get around and live the life like a normal, as normal. They don't have to necessarily depend on family members for rides or Uber. They can just call metro mobility and they get around. I've always wondered why the heck we haven't expanded that statewide and have a Minnesota mobility. And I think that something like that up in your district, the ability to stay in the house and then have someone that can get you to the grocery store or get you to church. I think that that's just a common sense idea that seems to be a really good one.
And I think that people would like to, we're always talking about transportation being a huge challenge in Beltrami County for people to access, nutrition, jobs, education, doctor visits and stuff. And we do have some. We have Paul Bunyan Transportation that does. They do they don't run a bus route, but you can call them and say, hey, I want to go to Sanford Healthcare, and then they'll pick you up. But the problem is because we are such a huge community, such a spread out community. It takes a long time, and it's just not very efficient. So it's hard to do that as a for-profit sort of model. So basically, this private company gets subsidized by the state, the city, and the county to be able to do this. And it's very, very limited, and they don't go very far outside of Bemidji. Not knocking them for that. It's just the nature of the beast. I mean, and looking into ways to expand that would be great. And we have a lot of people up here that drive people that volunteer to drive people to doctor visits, whether it's locally or driving people to Fargo, to the VA, or to Brainerd, to where they receive medical aided treatment for substance use. And there are some wonderful volunteers that basically just drive for mileage reimbursement. the help. But we could really use something more formal and more spread out, something that will help people well outside of Bemidji, outside of the population center, but up in Baudette, up in northern Clearwater County.
This is, as I mentioned with Alan Roy, this is crunch time, and it made me a little frustrated last weekend to see people in relatively safe DFL seats out working. We have these districts the DFL can win. This redistricting that happened up in the 2 area on your district as well as Senate District 2, 2B, these are seats now where the DFL can pick these seats up. But it comes down to, as you said, you've got elements in the community that are working against the DFL hard. It comes down to knocking on every door. It comes down to contacting every voter and making sure they know to vote coming up on Tuesday, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's all, I mean, we have they have money, but we have people, that's a poorly phrased, famous saying from Washington. He was the governor or the mayor of Chicago for one term. He beat the Dailies. That's what he said. They may have the machinery, they may have the money and the power, but we've got the people, and that's what we need. So if we can get our people out to the polls, we're going to win. We're going to take the Senate district, which a couple of years ago nobody would have thought would be possible. We're going to take my House district. Erica Bailey Johnson is working in the B side of the district, and she's running a heck of a good campaign. It's a very challenging district, but she's looking really, really good right now. So right now we are really trying to get out the vote, mobilize people to vote. We're working on putting together drivers for Election Day. So if anybody needs a ride, we can get them there. And right now we are just trying to hit every door we can to encourage people to get out, excite them to get out. I'm really excited. This is I've ran for local elections several times, and this is a lot of work relative to just a small county's commissioner seat. But we're doing it, and we've got. I feel like we've got a lot of a tailwind rather, pushing us, and things are looking really good up in Red Lake. We need a big turnout up in Red Lake. I think we're going to get it. We need a big turnout here in Bemidji, and it's looking good. All
righty.
I guess. If you'd like, you want me to quick plug myself?
Well, I'm sure you're going to have door knocking this weekend. Are you going to have some phone banking this weekend as well?
Yes, yeah. So, if anybody down in the metro wants to help us out up here, you can go to my website, which is votereadolson.com and votereadolson.org. I think they both work. And there's a little survey that you can fill out. And if you'd be interested in phone banking, fill that out, and we'll get a hold of you, and we'll get you a list, and you can call some people over the weekend for us and encourage them to get out to the polls. And that's right now. Or drive on up here. It's going to be a beautiful weekend. I'm not sure what the temperature is or if it's going to rain or not, but it's beautiful no matter what in Bemidji. So come on up, and you can do some door knocking with us on Saturday, Sunday, or Monday. And fill out that survey on our website, votereadolson.com, and we're going to do it. This is the last push, but I can feel it. I think that there's a lot of excitement in the area. We just need to make sure that everybody gets out to vote.
VoteReadOlson.com. And once again, if you just go to the main page and scroll down past the endorsements, you got the Get Involved survey right there. Fill it out and get involved there. And once again, you can help out. If you can get up there, go door knock by all means. You can do some phone banking, but no matter what, help out any way you can. We can take 2A. We can take Senate District 2. We can take Senate District 2B, and that will put the fear of the DFL and the GOP, trust me, on that one. Well, Reed Olson, anything else, Reed?
Yeah, I just want to say that we have not done a great job in the north as DFLers, and this is our beachfront here. If we can get these couple of seats here, and we can flip the Senate, and we can start delivering for people, we can take back the north. People ran to the Republicans because they felt that the Democrats weren't listening to them anymore, and they weren't completely wrong up here. But we can show them that we are the party of the worker, we are the party of the farmer, we are the party of the laborer. But we got to get in, and we got to start showing them that. We got to start getting them the results and letting them know that we care about rural Minnesota.
Absolutely.
And this is the first step, the first salvo.
I can't wait for your rural Minnesota housing bill, Reed, because I will make sure we promote the living daylights out of that when you're in St. Paul coming up in the next session. Reed Olson, 2A, votereadolson.com. Reed, thank you very much. Let's take our final break and head on into the rest of the show. It's the Matt McNeil Show right here on AM 950.